Hi, my name is Tammy Eckert, and I am here with Liam Phillips. He is a facilitator of Talk to the Entities, and we're going to have a little conversation. Hi, Liam. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing really well. What a great introduction. Short, sharp, snappy, inviting. How does it get any better than that?
Yeah, yeah. So I have some questions for you. Would you be interested in having a little conversation back and forth about the entities and, all those things that I have questions about, and maybe someone else might have a question or two about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's one of my
Okay.
favorite subjects, so fire away.
Okay. Um, Well, the first thing I want to ask you is, what are some of the signs and some of the signals that the entities are around you? What do you pick up? What is your sense?
Well, that's a really good question, and I'm not going to answer it. I'm not going to answer it in the way that you think I'm going to answer it, because what happens is if I start to tell you how I sense entities, then if you don't sense them in the same way, you'll either go to the wrongness of you and go, well, I can't do that, and then you cut off your own capacities, your own way of sensing them, or you will go to the wrongness of me and make me wrong for that. So my question would be to ask you, um, and anybody who's watching this, what are some of the signs that entities are talking to you?
Well, I'm not going to answer that
I love it.
because I have my own understanding of it, and I agree with you as far as, we all have our own communication
Yeah.
with them, and they have their communication with us. So I agree with you with that.
So I will add in this though that entities don't talk to us the way that Hollywood would like us to believe. They're not going to, usually, I mean, there are a few times, I guess, usually they're not going to ring you or text you or speak to you um, like a regular person would. A lot of people have either what I call psychological signs, which are um, thoughts and feelings. Thoughts. If thoughts of depression or thoughts of suicide, or feelings of, like I don't feel really very good, or I feel really impacted. So those are well, the first ones, the thoughts and feelings, are the psychology, and then there's the physiological ones, the ones that are like when you're sneezing a lot or when you've got a very itchy body. Many of us go to the conclusion that is something wrong with us, rather than asking the question, oh, is there an entity trying to connect with me here? Um, Sneezing, I'm going to let you in. Sneezing is a big one for me. When I start sneezing, I ask that question, is there an entity here?
Okay. So, well, thank you for that. I appreciate allowing a couple of those slip in there. I'm sure our listeners will appreciate that as well. It's like, oh, so when I sneeze 7 times in a row, it's a possibility. That's
uh,
cool.
and that's what I would like to bring awareness to, is that it is a possibility. It doesn't mean it is. It's just a possibility. So you have to ask the question.
Okay. Thank you. Um, Another question that I would really like to ask is, and I'm glad that you talked a little bit about the Hollywood, because that was one of the questions that I had is, what in the explanation of the way Hollywood depicts and describes all of those, you know, shows and such like that, and the differences between what it is, the truth of it, and is there a truth of it? Is there a real description that we can kind of like put out there, or is it, you know, somehow we come to know on our own volition what it is for us?
Yeah, it's really great because Hollywood, there are basically three things that have got a lot of misidentification and misapplication of energies. there's a lot of mystery around entities because we have not been given the correct information. Hollywood is one of those. I use the term loosely in a way that means, you know, like books or science fantasy or literally movies from Hollywood. There is a lot of misinformation in all of that, and a lot of it is designed to keep you stupid so you don't know. And a lot of it is designed on, you know, to make it sellable or saleable. So whenever I watch like a Hollywood movie, like there are little bits in there that I get awareness from, but I will always watch it from a point of view of awareness. And anything that's light for me is true for me in that 10 seconds, and anything else is that's heavy is a lie. So a lot of Hollywood is based on entities having the power over us, and that is a huge misidentification. You have the body, you have the power. So the other two things are the psychology around entities and the spirituality or metaphysics around entities. And the spirituality and psychology is more like the science of it. And if we start, it's like a new age religion, really, in that if we only look for the scientific fact, we cut off a lot of our awareness of what else is possible. And it's the same with spirituality or metaphysics. If we buy other people's points of view about how entities communicate or how we can clear them or the rightness or wrongness around entities, then what we do is we cut off a lot of our own awareness of what is actually true as our reality. And I know that many people have bought the point of view in the past that anybody that could talk with entities was a weirdo, a wacko, and very strange, and possibly somebody that should be hung, drawn, and quartered or avoided. And so a lot of metaphysical stuff and spiritual stuff has been banded around to manipulate and control people so that they don't step into their power and potency with whatever they've got capacities in, whether it's talking with entities or whether it's being psychic or any of those other sorts of things. Does that help at all?
Yes, it does. That clears it up quite a bit. And I'm looking forward to finding out more. I have one more question. May I ask?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes when I speak of entities to others, right away I perceive a negative energy from them if they don't know much about the energies or the entities. What would you suggest I say, or what material should I lead them to, or would you suggest I lead them to, so they may acquire a clearer knowing if they choose it?
Yeah, and like it's really about the choice. And so many of us don't step into our power and potency because in some lifetime, and even in this lifetime, I've worked with people where they've had that capacity made as a wrongness. That's the negative energy that you're picking up. It's a judgment that you're weird, you're strange, and I don't know anything about that, and I don't even want to look at that area at all. So, but it's not always just the judgment of you. It's also that you can be picking up the judgment of themselves, because some of those people that you are talking with, they recognize that they have that capacity or ability to communicate with entities, but they don't want to know it because they've bought other people's points of view, like Hollywood point of view, that if I open the doors up to entities, something terrible is going to happen. It's not. That's why we do these talk to the entities classes, so you can have the tools to deal with this and add the awareness that entities can bring to our lives, to your life, to create something greater in the world. So my tool would be, in general, is look at the person in front of you look at their reality. Don't go into their reality. Just ask to be aware of their reality, and then ask, can they, in your head, you can just ask, can they hear this? And if that's a no, Bob, then don't go there, you know. And if it's a yes, Bob, then ask another question. Okay, so how much can they hear? What can they hear? Like, for instance, the other day, I wanted to get a haircut here in town, so I followed the energy, and I ended up going to this hairdresser that I would not normally have chosen. And I walked in, and I overheard a conversation between the hairdresser and another client that the owner of the shop wasn't there because her sister had just died. And all of a sudden, I became really aware of why I had been drawn to be in that particular shop. I was there to facilitate the entity, to facilitate some change. And then when I was getting my hair cut with the hairdresser, I started to ask some questions. And I asked that question, you know, what can this person hear? And then I just said, oh, he asked me a question. He said, oh, what do you do for a living? I said, oh, I do seminars in some very weird stuff. And that's all I said. And then about 10 minutes later, he says, you've got me really, really wondering what it is that you do now. And I said, well, funnily enough, I do these classes called Talk to the Entities. And then he went, oh, and then he started to ask some questions. And so it opened up a doorway for him to start facilitating this entity, the sister that had died, and for me to facilitate him with this energy as well. And it was very light and very easy, and I got a great haircut, and it was really cheap as well. How does it get any better than that?
Right.
So that's why we do these classes, so that we can facilitate not only ourselves, but also entities and people who are dealing with entities.
Okay. So you're talking about these classes. You are having a class in New York, and on June 8th and 9th, you're having an intro to the entity class on the 8th in the evening, and the Talk to the Entities class on the 9th and the 10th. Can you speak about that, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, it's my first trip to New York, so I think we're going to be doing it in New Jersey. One of the things that I'd love to do whilst I'm in New York is possibly go to where the World Trade Center was, because that has got a huge fascination for me. I'm doing a Talk to the Entities class in Japan later on in Hiroshima, so I love going to these places where there are still a lot of entities, because me going there changes the energy of it. And so I'd like to invite people who are interested in talking with entities, communicating with entities, facilitating themselves, becoming more of who they be, and being able to receive from entities to these classes. And, you know, if you're not quite sure about coming to the 2-day class, come along to the intro at least. We can give you some tools, change your point of view from, a lot of people have fear-based or points of view that are keeping you from having all of you, and we'll have a lot of fun. I can guarantee you that, because I am crazy, wacky, stupid. How does it get any better than that?
I just had a thought. What do you think about doing a little field trip with more than just you to the World Trade Center? What do you think about that?
Yeah,
Maybe we should
well,
add
that would be interesting, and it's something that we could possibly look at if we can get the numbers. So, you know, like, what would that be like? What realities could we change?
Wow. Oh my gosh. That feels like so amazing. We need to do it.
Cool.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I've got to go. I've got a date with a cup of coffee.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time, Liam. I so appreciate your time. You have a beautiful night, and I will talk to you again soon.
See you all soon.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.